Just 24 hours ago, VRS and SimSports' Martin Kroenke made it 5 out of 5 to open up his championship season as he heads towards the halfway stage. But 24 hours later, we're still here at Monza, and we still have some Formula One cars circulating around this glorious 5.79 kilometer circuit. And well, there isn't a better place to try and do it than here in the Grand Prix Series, streaming live on iRacing Live, brought to you by RaceSpot TV. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's hashtag Do You Mind. Jake Sperry, joined alongside by Mr. Connery Maddock over on my left-hand side. Connery, 21 car grid then for today's action, and it's going to be all the thrills and spills on a 53 100% distance race.
Yeah, it is. It's one of a couple 100% distance races in this iRacing Grand Prix Series, and well, what better place to have one than at a cast with so much, than a track, sorry, with so much history as this track at here Monza. So it's going to be an absolutely fantastic race. We're looking at one required stop for most of your drivers here, unless you're one particular driver in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series who decided to do a no stop and almost run out across the line. But right now, we're just having a little bit of a look at Marky Warmington as he heads his way out of the Ascari chicane for his out lap here. And he's going to be going on to his qualifying lap after he hits the Parabolica here. So it's important to get a fantastic run coming out of here to set you up for the most straight line speed possible coming down the pit straight. Okay, he's going to exit that corner now. It's a relatively decent exit coming out here, so it's going to be seeing the speed climb and climb above 200 miles an hour already as he comes across the line. We're on board with him for this lap. Looking for your braking point now, 220 miles an hour almost, coming down into the heaviest braking zone on the track. Look for some trouble, shall we say, coming down through here on the first lap if some of your drivers are a little bit too overzealous. Getting the power down nicely, coming out of there, coming into Curva Grande right now, hugging that white line as close as possible to make the track as short as possible. Again, looking for your braking zone under the bridge now, coming down into the second chicane. Clips those curbs nicely and doesn't get the most fantastic drive off the corners, but he's gonna head his way down into the first Lesbo now. You see the trees just overhang a little bit, especially on the entry to the second Lesbo. It means the track is shaded there, gives you a little bit more grip as you head under the Fly Emirates bridge. And this is the run down towards Ascari right now. A little bit of a dip in the track as you rise, as you go below the bridge and you rise up into the braking zone, coming into the Ascari chicane, the fastest chicane on this circuit. Gets a little bit of oversteer coming through the middle of there, and then well, exit as wide as you dare, as wide as the iRacing system lets you, to get a good drive coming down the back straight here, and then braking zone into the Parabolica. A few different lines through here, but the usual standard one is to take an early apex and then take the car wide, try and carry as much momentum down the pit straight as possible, and that is a lap around Monza.
Yeah, and of course the blue flag racing driver doing a very good job in his first lap. A 124.2 though, only P15 as things stand. Chembol Bassi then to the top of the timing stands then for Core Sim Racing. There, the number 3 machine, a 122.4. A lot of names that we saw in the World Championship trying to get a drive in here today. The likes of, say, Mac Backham, who is all out of laps right now in the number 1 machine. He will get himself back out and practice some race starts. Riley Preston as well has struggled then in the early stages, just trying to look then for drivers. Davide Corpse then will come to the line. We'll have one more opportunity after this. 123 flat he does only, and he'll pull off on the second lap. He's only P number 7 for the Orion Racing Team machine there, Connery, but there are still drivers who are yet to set a lap time and running out of time a little bit here. Drivers like Ollie Kvoka, drivers like Ryanaldo Augusto here, 18 and 19 on their cars, 20th and 21st as currently stands.
Yeah, the number 19 driver of Ollie Kvoka is just heading his way out of the Ascari chicane right now. He'll have enough time to finish this lap for definite. And Ronaldo Augusto is also coming towards the Parabolica as well. So let's see what these guys, well, first times are going to be. I don't think they'll get enough time to do another flying lap here. Let's see what Ollie Kvoka does as he comes across the line this time by. And he goes... If we wait for the timing, he does not set a time. No, he must have made a mistake somewhere on that. I've got a little bit of an off track somewhere. Meanwhile, Ronaldo Augusto did actually manage to make his lap valid. He starts in P13 as it stands.
Yeah, he does here, and he's got that time. Miguel Rodriguez then will come across the line. He'll do a 1:24.9, go P19. Kvothe does have time to get his lap time in then when all's said and done. Variante Della Roggia takes a double take and misses the apex on the outside as well. So this is a very scruffy lap from Kvothe then. Into Lesmo 1, looking for the late apex, finds it. Now looking towards this second Lesmo. It invites you in. You hope you can just hold it perfectly, and he gets back on the power very, very nicely. Kvothe is running out of time then, and I doubt he'll challenge up at the top of the field, but it looks like to me that Cembolo Bassi will take pole position from this. Kvothe now looking to attack Ascari up the hill, left, right, and left. There's a little bump somewhere along this section, which really does unsettle the vehicle. A little bit of a wiggle onto the junior layout on the right-hand side, and now looking for Parabolica. He has time to finish this lap, but has it been clean enough? Just one more corner to go for him. That is Parabolica, and what a very dangerous corner it used to be in his prime with gravel all the way along the outside. Now there's a little bit more room for maneuverability, shall we say, with the asphalt on the outside. Drive to line for Ollie Kvothe, does a 1:24.9, P19 there, and that's pretty good by his standards, but he's 7/10 off the driver ahead there, Connery.
Yeah, it really is. And, well, he'll be starting second to last row on this grid right now. I don't think there are any drivers on... actually, Michael Partington may be able to get this lap in. He's got 10 seconds remaining in the session. Let's see if he is able to get to the line. Oh, he's going to bring it down pit road. Well, it's time for the grid, Jake.
Certainly is, and well, it was a very, very comfortable then pole position. Not really though for Cembolo Bassi. The times were always going to be tight here. 1:22.495, only man to break into the 22.4s here. He takes pole position by 1/100th of a second away from VRS Anderson Sports Mac Backham. Orion Racing's Riley Preston then will start in third, with Josh Rogers there in fourth position. Ricardo Orozco starts in P number 5, with Isaac Price in sixth. David Corps then will start in 7th with Corson Racing. Sebastian Job, nice to see him back in the Formula 1 machine in 8th. Fernet Kern there in 9th position, with Michael Partington rounding out the top 10. Then you look further down, Moritz Lohner there in 11th position. Evan LaForest rounds out row 6. Row 7 sees Reinaldo Augusto and Simon Schultz, with Matteo Calistani and Ruslan Sabatov surprisingly off the pace. Manu Domingo will start P17 with Mark Warmington 18th, and then Ollie Kvothe, Juan Miguel Rodriguez and Anto Mun ends out 21 drivers then on this grid. 2 minutes then to get yourself up onto the starting field. Of course, 53 laps. We are expecting one pit stop here today, but there is the potential for the no-stop strategy here. Big difference though, it is a lot hotter of a circuit here, so maybe the tyres will wear off a little bit quicker, and we might see that the no-stop strategy won't be available. Maybe it might go to one stop, potentially a two-stop here, but looking maybe a little less likely than what some others feel right now. And of course, it's a very difficult run down in towards turn number 1. We saw it in the Formula Renaults. We saw it with Frake Showthorst in the iRacing World Championship. You cannot afford to take a risk down into this opening chicane. So, clean side of the track then for the drivers on the left-hand side with the odd numbers. So, Bollet Bassi, Preston and Orozco will all get the advantage off the line. And just 10 seconds now remain. Just waiting for one more driver to get himself on the grid. That is Evan Lathoris in the 20 machine. He is up on his grid. The engine notes now will start to rise. Give us the green light, because we're ready to go and we are underway. It's a shocking start from Riley Preston on the second row, and you can see it's a stormer of a start there from Orozco, who jumps all the way up into second position. Big wiggle behind as Price tries to cut the nose, and down onto the brakes. Bollet Bassi under pressure. Backham trying to go 3 wide. They concertina and they all dive for a bit of space, and for the moment though, Bollet Bassi is held onto it and held on very well, but there is issues for O'Reilly, for David Corps even, I do believe that is, who has got a huge amount of issues. 3 wide as they head through Curva Grande there, Connery.
Yeah, that was an interesting thing coming down towards the start. Another driver that got absolutely fantastic start was the driver of Matteo Calistani. Absolutely fantastic traction off the line, past 4 cars before he even got to the braking zone of turn 1. That's how great that start was.
Yeah, it was here, and it's a very difficult start, but Bollet Bassi's away from Orozco. Backham has dropped down into third for VRS Coanda Simsport. Josh Rogers there for the Evolution Racing team in fourth. Price fifth. Preston in sixth. Preston looking at the drive then of Isaac Price here. Not going to happen down into Ascari. Not just yet here, and you can see a little bit of a wiggle then here as the dirty air effect comes into play. Backham again under a lot of pressure here from Rogers. Rogers just very happy just to sit behind and wait now for the opportunity to arise. Might use the slipstream here down towards turn number 1, but Parabolica awaits then for the very first time. And you can see just behind that, Riley Preston gets through then on the driver of Isaac Price, then gets himself up into position number 5 overall and trying to make that recovery drive. Price now tucked back into the toe, looking for an opportunity to turn number 1, Connery.
Yeah, DRS not in effect just yet. It's too early on in the race to be doing that. As well, slightly defensive line there from Riley Preston, just taking tight line into the first chicane as we watch this train go by through the first chicane. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, the gap is already standing at 1.6 seconds between Cembolic Bassi and Ricardo Orozco. And, well, Cembolic Bassi is absolutely flying at this stage in the race, just trying to pull out that gap early on. He's already out of DRS range.
He is here and he's managed to get away. It's worth noting that Davide Corp had a slowdown penalty on the first lap. That's why he was running slow in the early goings. He's still going in 9th position overall. Worth noting, we've had no retirements in the opening lap. We have a car off here though, ladies and gentlemen, and it is Evan Lotharos here who has run into issues there in the number 20 machine, running wide out of Lesmo 1. And just taking a look at that one, he was side by side. Oh, there was a little bit of contact there with the driver of Manu Domingo there in the 16. So a little bit of argy-bargy in the early goings here, Connery. Drivers still trying to settle down.
Yeah, that was tire contact coming through the first Lesmo right there, as we may have a couple more problems with number 4 car, Maris Lona. He's going very, very slow on the run down towards Parabolica. I think he had a little bit, he had a little bit of a spin coming out of Ascari. I say a little bit of a spin. That was a full 360, and he's lost quite a few positions as a result.
Yeah, he has here, and well, that does seem to be a little bit of a problem then for Moritz Lohner in what has been going on. But Connery, you know, that happens with Lohner. He is a driver that is trying to get new, and Hoytingvelcore Motorsports is a team trying to get into this one, and it just didn't work out for him there in the end.
No, it just didn't, but he kind of has to put that behind him now and just focus on the rest of this race. He has a good train of cars in front of him that he can have a little bit of fun with as we look towards P2 and P3. This is Ricardo Orozco versus the co-anda driver of Mac Backham. And Mac Backham looking to get past relatively quickly here to not let Cembolic Bassi get away too far ahead of this field. That gap between P1 and P2 already stands at around about 2.2 seconds on the relative.
Yeah, it does here at the moment, Connery, as I'm just experiencing a couple of technical issues there, so you have the action and I don't.
All right, then, as these guys head up into the Ascari chicane, Mac Backham looking to try and get some way past Ricardo Orozco, but he's looking very good defensively at this moment in time as they head down in towards the braking zone of Parabolica. DRS will be in effect this time for Mac Backham. Let's see if he can make good use of it to try and get himself up into that P2 position. As going to head away across the start-finish line. Does that DRS flap for Mac Backham open? It does. And look at the overspeed that he gets. He's going to make this done well before the braking zone, coming down into turn 1. So move Mac Backham up into P number 2. And now he can focus on chasing down that core sim racing driver of Cembolic Bassi. Looking back through your field, though, there's still some tight battling between Joshua K. Rogers, Riley Preston, Sebastian Job, Isaac Price, Michael Partington, all in this train in the middle of your top 10. So this can be an exciting one to look for. Look at Sebastian Job. He's going to head his way down the inside of Riley Preston at the second chicane, and Riley Preston only just defending that position there. But he doesn't get a good run out of the corner. Here comes Sebastian Job now coming down through the inside on the first Lesmo, and I don't think there's much Riley Preston could have done here. Now he's going to come under threat from the other core sim racing car of Isaac Price, but he manages to successfully defend that position and not lose 2 positions in one corner.
Yeah, he's done a very good job there to make that move through, and well, making that move is one thing, making sure that it happens for you is another there, and well, Sebastian Job getting himself into positions here. Cembolic Bassi driving away with things at the moment, Connery. So Core Sim Racing proving themselves to be a very, very good team right now.
Yes, they are. They just go from strength to strength, especially in the Blancpain GT series. Where they're doing very, very well indeed in the McLaren, and they're doing very well in the McLaren here. As actually Isaac Price gets a terrible run coming out of the Parabolica. This gives a chance to Michael Partington coming around the outside of the first chicane, but I don't think Michael Partington has, well, I think they both get DRS there, so the benefit was negated for Michael Partington as they followed very, very closely coming through the first chicane. A little bit of wheel spin coming out of there for the driver of Michael Partington. There's a car not getting a good run there. That's Riley Preston at the front of these guys, and Isaac Price is now going to have an opportunity coming down the inside of the second chicane. He's going to make that one done on the brakes. Can Riley Preston reply on the exit? He gets very close and maybe a little bit of contact there. I think the front wings are fine though as they head their way down into first Lesmo, and it's absolutely fantastic battling in the second half of the top 10. This is a train all the way from Isaac Price all the way down to David de Korp. This is a 4-car train. There's also 2 ahead of these guys that may be fighting in the not too distant future between Josh K. Rogers and Sebastian Job as well. Sebastian Job has managed to break away from this pack fighting in the second half of your top 10 though. Isaac Price and Riley Preston, they're around about a second behind at this stage. So it was very important for Sebastian Job to get past quickly, and that's what he has done.
Yeah, he has. Isaac Price under pressure again. Preston again looking down to the inside at Parabolica. Not going to happen then for the number 6 machine in position number 6 here. Starting to struggle a little bit, looking to enter lap 6 for 53 here, so still the early goings. We'll have the DRS now, and we'll use it with the ERS to get a double toe effect here. Isaac Price has to take the defensive line then down towards the Variante del Rettifilio, and well, it's not going to work for him because he's already lost the position before getting himself down onto the brakes. It's worth noting that they bottleneck up, bit of contact behind. David de Korp runs into the back of Michael Partington for that Blue Flag Racing team, and well, that's not exactly the way that things wanted to happen here. Price still not done though, and oh, they get close, they do touch as they head their way then down onto the brakes to the Della Roggia, and you can see Price there stuck on the outside for the second part of the corner. Better run then, as you can see Partington now trying. They're still side by side, half a lap's worth. They head to Lesmo.
Yes, it is, but it's going to be Isaac Price stuck on the outside. He manages to hold it around the outside of the first Lesmo. Can he do it again through the second Lesmo? He clips the gravel a little bit. That's going to lose him momentum. He doesn't get the drive coming out of the corner, and he won't have DRS either. So now he's going to come under threat from Michael Partington and David de Korp behind. Here comes Michael Partington down the inside of the Ascari chicane, and there's a contact. Very little bit of contact pushes Isaac Price wide, and now he's going to have to fight it side by side with David de Korp coming through the lap out of Ascari. Here comes the run from Manuel Domingo. He's going to get 2 cars in one straight here. Are we going to go 3-wide racing? Yes, we are going to go 3-wide racing on the run down towards the Parabolica. Isaac Price backs out, and David de Korp also defends that position from Manuel Domingo as well, but this isn't over right now. Isaac Price has a decent run coming out of the Parabolica. He'll also have DRS and the double slipstream from the cars ahead, and let's see what happens here. We're going to see 3-wide again. It's important to note that Manuel Domingo did not get the DRS activation either, and there's an Apex Racing UK car behind them, Fenric Kern, that may also get involved in this one as well. So this is an absolutely frantic start to the race as we see Manuel Domingo and David de Korp have a little bit of contact as well, as they're going to head almost side by side coming through the Curva Grande. Crazy stuff, Jake.
Yeah, it was there, and David de Korp couldn't get the run out to the corner. Actually went down in a little bit too deep. He'll hold position then just for the moment. It was worth noting he was using all of his ERS as well to try and block from an overtake happening there. Look how much of a gap Riley Preston and Michael Partington have pulled out because of the battling that has been going on. Worth noting though, at the front of your field, Mac Backham is on a charge right now, and Cembol Bassi doesn't have too much to respond with. Lost 3/10 in that last lap, Connery. So for Mac Backham, he is really looking to push down here, as we're looking at Josh Rogers right now, really hounding the back of Sebastian Job. In fact, lost the position on the run down into Ascari there. Fantastically easy move from the driver Sebastian Job. You can see how defensive he's gone though here. Now moves to take the natural racing line. Rogers will not make the move into Parabolica.
No, he won't, and Sebastian Job definitely on the charge at this moment in time. 7 laps in, coming up to lap 8 right now, and he's already up 4 positions. Started in 8th, he's going to be classed in the 4th position this time by. But look at the run Joshua K. Rogers has. He's going to get his own back on Sebastian Job here. Almost, yes, he's going to do it before the braking zone, but he has to stay on that compromised inside line, a compromised entry to the corner, and maybe Sebastian Job can get him back on the exit. But no, that was a good pass from Joshua K. Rogers, proving that he can, well, he can have fun with the best.
Yeah, he can here, and he's made a very good move to hold off Sebastian Job here, who has been a driver who has changed teams, of course, formerly of Apex Racing UK, now in towards Core Sim Racing, of course. Failed to make qualification for the World Championship. Arguably, you could argue that he wouldn't have been in a position to do that. Josh Rogers has a slowdown penalty, though, and that position will be very comfortably taken back then by the driver of Sebastian Job. But Connery, my point, Sebastian Job is on a road to try and get back into that World Championship and to fulfill the potential that every driver and every viewer knows that he has. And this 4th place at the moment is maybe an indication that he does have that pace to kick it once again at the top level.
Yeah, exactly, and I'll definitely be one to say that I really want him to see in the in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series next season if he decides to do so. But again, that is completely and utterly his choice. As we're having a look at the battle for P9 here. This is going to be Manu Domingo versus Isaac Price versus Frederick Kern and Ruslan Sabitov, and Isaac Price still hasn't been able to get past Manu Domingo. And, well, he's going to have to do that pretty soon if there's any chance of improving his positions further up the field here. He's going to have DRS as he comes across the stripe. Actually, he's not. Yes, he is going to have DRS as he comes across right there. He's going to have an opportunity coming down into the first chicane. He's going to make it very, very tight through here, but I think Manu Domingo's just not going to fight it. And now Manu Domingo's going to come under threat from Fenric Kern.
Yeah, he is there, and there was no point. He was there, stuck on the outside, would have turned to the inside, and would have been pinched on the curb. So very clever tactical battling there from Manu Domingo. Doesn't want to fight with Isaac Price, but now we'll have to fight with Ferenc Kern here. Kern to the outside and pinched on the outside there. Nothing can happen there for Kern. Kern's going to have to drop the position there, and now Ruslan Sabitov wants to try and make the charge to go +5. Defensive line was taken by Kern. He forced him to the inside, and you get pinched very heavily into Lesmo 1. You can't carry nearly much more of the apex speed that you really need to in terms of that. Sabitov will hold into line astern just for the time being then in this one right now. Also worth noting, Josh Rogers, after that slowdown, has dropped back by about a second here in terms of what has been going on here, Connery. So maybe the 1 lap pace isn't as good as, say, what is going to be the overall race pace compared to Job.
No, it isn't, and Sebastian Job setting some pretty good lap times. Of course, well, nowhere near Mac Backham at the moment. He's absolutely flying a 25.4 last time by. Is actually Sebastian Job absolutely completely proves me wrong here. He runs an almost identical lap time to Mac Backham. So Sebastian Job, I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to say I'm wrong there. You are absolutely flying.
Yeah, Riley Preston has lost the position then, is looking to try and fight back with Michael Partington. Got an absolutely horrible wiggle. Very lucky to save it coming out to the Parabolica, but you can see here for Riley Preston, he's looking to try and make that charge, looking to get back into action here. Partington just ahead, onto the brakes, into the Della Roggia. Not going to happen here, so they're going to have to stay in line for the moment here. Of course, we are still in the opening stages of this one, only on lap 10. You can see just how close Riley Preston's getting through Lesmo 1. And there is strategy to be played here in this event here. Of course, a very high track temperature means that the tyres will wear away a little bit more. And well, for Riley Preston right now, started in P number 3, he wasn't thinking here, Connery, that he was going to have a race like this. Of course, he's been so unlucky in the World Championship. Seemingly in every single race that he's been in, he's managed to find some way of retiring.
Well, he hasn't retired just yet as all. Huge twitch for Michael Partington coming out of the Ascari chicane. This is going to give the run to Riley Preston on the run down towards the Parabolica. And I have to wonder who gets the DRS activation here. I think it's going to be Michael Partington, since he was the car behind the DRS activation line that time by. Let's see who gets DRS. Oh, there goes Riley Preston pushing out wide in the Parabolica. And now he's going to come under threat from Davide Corps coming across the start-finish line. Riley Preston does not get DRS. Both of the cars he's fighting with do. And here comes Davide Corps, maybe down the inside of the first chicane. I think he's going to back out of that one as they all follow each other, absolutely nose to tail coming through there. And again, that was almost a race-ending incident from Riley Preston, just as he jinxed him, Jake.
Yeah, and well, for Riley Preston, he knows that it's his teammate in front of him in the form of Davide De Corps here. So De Corps, for the moment, then will just hold back. Battle for P3, though, going on. Ricardo Orozco under a lot of pressure now here. He's actually just lost the position to Sebastian Job. So replay on screen on where he's done that. And that's a dive into the Della Roggia. So Sebastian Job, he moved to the inside. He came from a pretty long way back there. Just muscled his way down to the inside. And maybe you could argue there that Orozco was a little bit tame in the defense there, Connery. But Ricardo Orozco back down into 4th, and now has Josh Rogers snapping at the heels as Preston again, though, having a big issue at Lesmo.
Yep, I think you called it, Jake. He's had a, well, he's brought the car down pit road, he's taken the tow, and that was coming through the second. Lesmo coming on the exit, just clipped the gravel a bit too much. A whole tyre into that gravel, in fact, just spat him out into the Armco barrier, and I think that's going to be terminal damage for Riley Preston. And, well, do you know the lottery numbers for next week, Jake?
I hope I know the lottery numbers. In fact, that will pay off some of the issues that I've been having today. Worth noting, though, Matt Backham has now got within a second here of Chembol Bassi. So the battle for the race lead then will look to continue here. The DRS flap will be able to be opened this lap if he can maintain himself within 1 second here, Connery. So Matt Backham, he's not been doing it every lap. That's something you have to remember. He hasn't been doing it every lap. He's been saving up the ERS, using it, charging it, using it, charging it. So it seems that every couple of laps, Backham pulls that gap right back in again.
Yeah, that definitely does seem to be the case, but the overall trend is that Matt Backham is catching around about 10th or so per lap. And he's within the DRS zone now, in fact. So that DRS flap on the back of that VRS Commander car is going to be wide open as you see them on the run down towards the Ascari chicane. And that's going to help his lap times absolutely immensely as he closes it down to just under 0.6 of a second coming through the Ascari chicane. He won't get DRS, obviously, on this back straight. There is no DRS on the run down towards Parabolica. You only get it on the run towards Ascari and the run across the start-finish line as Matt Backham is just getting ever closer every single corner. And, well, we're going to see a fight for P1 in the not-too-distant future.
We're certainly not here, and if you talk about the World Championship and the implications of it all, Chembol Bassi is up to 4th in the championship here at the moment, and when you look at Matt Backham, he was a driver who finished P5 in the World Championship just 24 hours ago, so off an incredible rich vein of form. Very surprising, actually, that Backham didn't take pole position here. He seemed destined for it, but in the end, Bollett Bassi put in that perfect lap time. Backham now tucked in, now 0.4 of a second here, and doesn't have to make the move straight away here, Connery. That's something that drivers will have to remember here. Pit stop strategy will come into play. You could argue in the next 5 laps or so if you're looking for a one-stop strategy here. And for these two drivers, when they know they've got about 7 seconds back to Joe, you have to feel there's a bit of sense of security right now here for these two if they do decide to start battling.
Yeah, well, definitely for Matt Backham since
Josh Rogers turned around.
His lap times.
Yeah, Josh Rogers, turned around then out of the Variante della Roggia then, and he just tried to get onto the power, huge tank slapper, and just turned the car around, waited to get back going again, and now finds himself back with Manu Domingo behind him, Ferenc Kern just ahead, so that is position number 9. He now finds himself in, Connery, and he was doing so well, but maybe that inexperience coming into play as we look at Matt Backham now, tucked right in underneath.
Yeah, this is going to be one of the many chances, I think, that Matt Backham is going to get over the course of this race. He just has the absolute pace right now over Chembol Bassi, and, well, is it going to be a matter of one chance he's going to have to take, or many chances? He's going to have the DRS coming across the pit straight. Look at that overspeed coming down there, and Matt Backham is going to be easy, does it for him on the, well, not even on the brakes coming down into turn 1. A pass before the braking zone, and we have a new race leader.
Oh, and he almost touched as well through the Variante del Rettifilio. And there isn't any damage there for Bollett Bassi, but he was very, very close to the rear. Now, if Bollett Bassi can stay within a second here of Matt Backham, this race isn't over and done with, because he knows that he can just use the toe to his advantage and just hope that he can continue on that pace that they've got. But it is also worth noting that when it came to Martin Kroenke in terms of the racing action over 24 hours ago, he made up most of his time on Gregor Hutu in the middle sector. And I feel that's going to be the same here for Matt Backham, because I feel that they're running a higher downforce setup here, Connery, the Coanda cars, than everyone else is running at the moment.
Yeah, that looks to be the case. He's already pulled out half a second over the course of that lap. But, of the current lap right now. But Chembol Bassi did get the DRS coming on the run down towards the Ascari. That negated the effect, but the gap is already back up to around about, 0.7 of a second. And that's increasing even if you suggest that the Coanda is running a high downforce setup. Even on the straights, they're pulling out a gap. So it's not the best sort of... What have you seen, Jake?
Oh, well, you just saw that. Matt Backham just got incredibly lucky coming out of the final corner there. Just tried to run himself in, got a huge slide off of Parabolica, and, well, Chembol Bassi says thank you very much. One error, one mistake, one race lead change there, and up into the race lead goes the driver of Chembol Bassi. Bollett Bassi, how on earth is he now still holding on to it? He's got to do the defense all over again. Matt Backham now. There's the one mistake that we saw from Kroenke now being transferred over to Backham.
Yeah, it's trying to take after his teammate, I think, is Mac Backham. But yeah, now he's after that mistake during the Parabolica, he's going to have a little bit of rear tire heating as well. So he kind of has to look after those tires now after that slide through the Parabolica. And well, that's basically a gift to Chembol at Bassi at the moment. It's going to give him another opportunity to try and defend this first place position, even though Mac Backham has, as I've said before, the absolute pace right now as they're going to head their way coming down into the Ascari chicane. Just having a look back through the field though at some other fighting, I think this is still a battle for P11. Joshua K. Rogers, Simon Schultz, Ronaldo Augusto, and Juan Miguel Rodriguez. They are still very, very close right now, but we're going to go back to this fight for P1, and Mac Backham is going to have another chance on the run down towards the first chicane.
Take two then, Matt Backham. You've got to do it all over again. And well, now Matt Backham just sits there, waits on Chembol at Bassi here. Is he close enough to use that toe and use the DRS to his advantage? 350 kilometers an hour down the straight. He gets there late, but he's going to get himself down to the inside. And you know what? He's going to take the race lead all over again. Matt Backham back up to the front then, as he really wanted to. Bolt Bassi had nothing really to argue against it. But we are going to look here at this train back from Sabatov back. Sabatov, Schultz, Augusto, Rodriguez, Lochner. Where has Josh Rogers gone? He's made a mistake then here out of Ascari, and it's another spin. And once you make one mistake in this vehicle, it happens all over again. He desperately tried to hold it, but he had to go straight across the gravel at the final stages, Connery, of that corner.
Yeah, because we have a replay on the screen for you now, and yeah, you make a good point there, Jake. Once one mistake happens, then it tends to lead to another, and then to another, and then to another, as it's not just the mental problems of making mistakes, it's also the physical as well. Those tires are going to be overheated too much from sliding about, as we see Simon Schultz, he's going to make his way past Ruslan Sabatov during the first Lesmo here. He's actually going to hold it around the inside. He's going to get a huge twitch coming through there. That means Sabatov is going to defend his position, and now he's got the other PSR car of Ronaldo Augusto right behind, who also have DRS, but Selman Schultz will also have DRS. Can he make a move on Ruslan Sabatov coming down into the Ascari chicane? That definitely looks to be the case. Sabatov not going to fight it just yet, as he lets the car of Simon Schultz pass coming down into Ascari, but there's still a couple of cars in this train you want to be keeping an eye on. Juan Rodriguez and Moritz Lohner as well, looking to make their opportunities coming through the field. And well, this is a good opportunity for Lohner to try and gain a couple more positions after losing a couple at the start.
Yeah, it is, and it was worth noting that we did see Josh Rogers come down and make a first scheduled pit stop a little bit early on lap 16. It will be a long, hard slog to get himself over to the end on that set of tyres. But now look at this train battle then. You can see Augusto now looking at his teammate here, who actually goes defensive down in towards turn number one. There needs to be a little bit of communication. Actually runs very, very deep, does Augusto. That's going to allow the driver Rodriguez now to try and get the move. He does get the move happening. Now Lochner needs to sit in the train. Rodriguez now all over the back of Sabatov after making that move. So now Sabatov running into a few issues then. To the outside, turns to the inside then. Against Sabatov goes Rodriguez, and Rodriguez then moves himself up very easily there, that move. And over the curbs there, over those big sleeping policemen, went the driver of what is Simon Schultz. And just like that, Connery, front of the train, Juan Miguel Rodriguez.
Yeah, a couple of positions in one lap, but he's going to lose it here. We suspect Sabatov has a little bit of a try coming down the inside of the second Lesmo. Does not get it though, but he'll be within well, you have a good opportunity here coming down into the Ascari chicane. Look at the run Simon Schultz has. He's going to back out with the move, but I feel he could have made it down the inside right there, as deep on the brakes for Ruslan Sabatov in the PSR car, trying to hunt down Juan Miguel Rodriguez. This is absolutely fantastic fighting in the just outside the top 10 here. It's going to be, and there's going to be 6 cars fighting for these positions.
Train of 6 then. Mark Warmington joins the back of it then. Through Parabolica they go. Wider line taken by Schultz, trying to really maximize the run off the exit, and he does maximize the run off the exit, so he'll move himself side by side with the driver of Ruslan Sabatov, and Sabatov won't have too much to argue against this one, because straight through will go Schultz. So Schultz now will chase Rodriguez here, who is trying to break the pack, and Sabatov and Augusto again, and the two teammates touch just a little bit, and they touch with Lochner, and Lochner's going to run a little bit wider as well. So Mark Warmington now with an opportunity, just spreads this group out a little bit here, Connery. Not what any of them want. They want to be able to go quicker here in terms of the racing, but they don't want to be holding each other up in terms of running too close. It's a very fine line when you're pack racing like that.
Yeah, exactly. And I will say that's the second time that Ronaldo Gusto has basically outbraked himself coming down to the first chicane, and he's going to lose another position here to Moritz Lohner around the outside of the first Lesmo. He's struggling to keep that car on the inside line for the first Lesmo, and as a result, Mark Warmington had a little bit of an opportunity but decided to back out of that one. So Ronaldo Gusto not having the greatest of days right now. He's he's still in what would be his no, he's actually one place down on his qualifying position right now after losing that position to Moritz Lohner, as Lohner actually does get a little bit of a tank slap coming through the Ascari chicane. Doesn't losing too much time though, but again, this fighting just outside the top 10 has been absolutely brilliant. But I think there's going to be an instance soon if Ronaldo Augusto keeps outbreaking himself coming down into turn 1 with cars ahead of him.
Yeah, he does have to be careful here about just continuing to run a little bit wide. Also worth noting, abusing track limits as well. You can't do that very often here. You might lose out quite a bit. Also worth noting, only just there in slipstream range there with Sabatov to Scholzer. Almost a gap of a second here. Augusto had Warmington trying to go, but Warmington breaks incredibly early actually in towards that Variante del Rettifilo there. Just backing off a bit there. Wasn't confident in making a move. And we saw that with Martin Kroenke yesterday, and we're seeing this with Warmington today. Very much backing out of a move, not confident to make it, wait to get a little bit closer, Connery, to make a move clear-cut and stone-cold complete.
Yeah, exactly. There's no point in rushing, this early stage in the race. We're not even at the halfway point right now. You'll still have plenty more opportunities coming later on in the race, as Ronaldo Augusto does run a little bit wide coming through the first Lesmo, and that just allows Marky Woman to close up all the more, as he's going to have DRS coming down in the run down towards Ascari chicane. But Augusto, making up for his bad run out of the first Lesmo, gets a good run out of the second Lesmo and prevents that pass from happening. As we have a look at Orozco, actually Sebastian Job had actually headed in his way down towards pit road. This is a very early stop. It's on the pit window though, so I don't think he has to worry too much about it. But Sebastian Job going with the optimistic strategy.
Yes, he is here, the number 5 machine, of course, in racing. Pits in from 3rd in the race right now. Sebastian Job will look to get tyres then. No damage on the car, so he'll get out straight away. Make sure that you hit the limiter as well. Just 65 kilometers an hour then down this long pit straight and look to get himself back out again. Side by side, too wide, too deep as well, as Augusto gets passed by Warmington, and in front of that, Sabatov passed by Moritz Lohner. So Lohner gets up a position, so does Warmington, and look who's now on the back of that train. For Sebastian Job, this is a nightmare scenario. Although he's got himself about 2 seconds to work with here, Connery, the moment he catches that train, he's stuck. And that is exactly what De Corps and Orozco want here, just behind, as De Corps now has DRS.
I can't help but feel that was a little bit of a mistake there, pitting in for Sebastian Job, as it does put him behind this huge train of cars. And if this train of cars doesn't pit soon, then Sebastian Job is going to be in a world of hurt here, trying to get by these cars. They don't have to let him by. This is racing for position, as we're going to have a little bit of a look at P3 right now. This is Ricardo Orozco versus David De Corps, as actually Cembolic Bassi is going to head his way down pit road 1 lap later than Sebastian Job. Orozco and David De Corps decide to stay out at this stage in the race. Is anyone else going to come in? Michael Parting stays out, and Isaac Price stays out as well. So Cembolic Bassi all lonely down on pit road right now, unless someone joins him.
Bem now trying to force the hand of Matt Backham. He's out and away, needs to get himself going here. So Bollitt Bassi now is looking at Matt Backham to try and cover off the move right now, and that's something that is worth keeping an eye out on here. No one else really does. Drop down onto lane. Ronaldo Augusto then will get himself down onto pit road. But now the question is on Matt Backham. Does he come down and try and cover this early strategy call from Cembolic Bassi and generally call sim racing in general, or will he stay out here and just try and run his own race here? The undercut strategy is going to be the one to keep an eye on here, and you can see he was harvesting energy up the hill, getting onto the brakes into the Ascari chicane there, Connery. You look at Matt Backham now, the question is, will he come down in and make that pit stop then? Heading towards Parabolica, the question will be, will he pull off right? Riley Preston has had his day done, officially confirmed. Anto Mun also out of the event right now as things stand, and it was a little bit tentative to get onto the power here, but Backham stays out. He's not looking to play the same call.
No, so Beckham staying out right now, and this is looking favourable to Cembolic Bassi, at least in the early stages of the second stint. But remember, Matt Beckham on that second stint is going to have much fresher tyres for the rest of the race, depending on how long he can stretch out this first stint. So that'll definitely be an interesting one coming towards the end of the race. Meanwhile, it's David de Korps versus Ricardo Orozco. As David de Korps goes curb hopping across the first chicane, has to slow up Ricardo Orozco as well. So he ends up defending his position, but he loses both cars' time.
Yeah, he does, and that's crucial here in the battle with Sebastian Job, because Job's in heavy amounts and copious amounts of traffic right now. As we look at Sebastian Job, he now goes side by side with Ruslan Sabatov here down to turn number 1, and Job will take the position away then in terms of the racing action, so moves himself up into P number 11 on circuit. De Korps just outbroke himself for, I think, the 3rd time in this event. He's not confident when he makes that move to get himself there into turn 1. Actually takes a heavy amount of gravel there coming out of the second Lesmo as well, so Roscoe didn't have the ability to capitalize, saw it a little bit too late for the liking there. Check if Backham comes in on this lap now to really make the cover here, to see what sort of pace that the driver of what is Chembol Bassi is running right now. Backham is going to stay out again. So Matt Backham decides to stay out. He is looking at maybe a one-stop strategy. Is this the case now that we're looking at the driver of, say, Chembol Bassi making a 2-stop here, Connery?
It's possible, but it's hard to say at this stage in the race, especially with how hot the track temperature is. It is much hotter than it was in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, so it's definitely more on the cards than it was during the course of that race. But as we're just going to watch Sebastian Job here coming down into the braking zone of the Parabolica, going to get held up a little bit by Juan Rodriguez here, but he's going to make his by relatively quickly. He'll have DRS coming down the pit straight. I don't think he even needs the DRS right now, as he gets the pass done before the DRS activation point. As Manu Domingo, he's going to head his way down pit road. So is Ruslan Sabatov as well. And, they're going to get there. Well, we suspect one and only scheduled stop here, as Chembol Bassi actually does set the fastest lap. And it's around about 1 second faster than Matt Backham managed to make last time by.
And that is the indication then for Backham. He needs to come in. He's a second a lap slower here. And remember, that gap was just about a second here. The moment he got out of the DRS, he decided to dive down onto pit road and cut his losses. What we do know is Chem's tyres are going to be a little bit worse for wear come the end of this race here. It depends on when Matt Backham decides to drop himself down onto the lane. Lap 23 of 53 here. 30 laps to go when they cross the line. Backham has to respond. He has to come down onto the lane, and he hits the lane, and he makes sure that he gets himself as close as he possibly can. You can see here, you know where there is a green, white, and red stripe there indicating the Italian flags. That's where they normally put it for the Formula 1. Not here in this series. They put the line a little bit further back. So for Matt Backham, it's about hitting his lane, getting the tyres, and getting back going again. Bassi rounds Parabolica here, and now just needs to get himself the overspeed. When you look at Matt Backham, a slower stop as well. Backham will now get himself out onto circuit, but here comes Chembol Bassi with the superior overspeed here, and they're going to be tight coming out of pit road. You can see he moves to the inside. There's Chembol Bassi, but Backham has gone a little bit too deep into turn number 1, has to slow down there, and Bassi was all over the curb as well. Going through that, Bassi now will have to take the race lead away from Matt Backham, and Backham has nothing for it. Bassi then, side by side, holds the squeeze, but into the lead almost. He goes right now, side by side, they'll stay, and no, it will have to be back out Backham.
Yes, it is, and well, in my opinion, that was a little bit of a cheeky move from Matt Backham, moving across outside the pit exit line to try and block Chembol Bassi's run down into the first corner. I think that was quite questionable, actually, from the VRS kind of SimSport driver. But that's well, he did get pretty much equal runs coming out the second Lesmo. Matt Backham will have DRS, but he's harvesting ERS over the course of this lap. As well, so he must have used it all up on that in lap to try and get as much advantage as possible coming down through there. A couple of other drivers have come down pit road. The only drivers that have not come down pit road are the likes of David Korps, Orozco, Price, Partington. Job has coming, Warmington, Quokka, and Levin Thoris have not come down pit road.
Yeah, it is worth noting, although that white line on pit exit is extended down right towards turn number 1, it is worth noting that you can cut along at about halfway, because that's where the line is. Michael Partington comes down onto pit road, but the battle for the net lead, not the actual lead at the moment, the net lead here still going on. Matt Backham versus Chembol Bassi. Backham closes in, but isn't close enough to make a move just yet into the Variante del Rettifilio. And you can see there a little tighter of a line there from Chembol Bassi. That's going to cost himself a little bit. Sebastian Sebastian Job now sets the fastest lap of the event there in a 1:24.58. He needs to make that time up because the driver of Davide Corps and Riccardo Orozco right now are trying to run that different strategy here. Orozco and De Corps will have to come in because they know about that pace that Job's doing, and Job will get the jump on them here if they're not too careful. I think they need to come down onto pit road now here, Connery, because they're losing out too much time.
Yes, I definitely think so too, as the speed difference between Sebastian Job and the leading cars at the moment stands at around about 1.5 seconds per lap. So that's the amount of time that they're losing just staying out lap by lap by lap. As Mac Backham and Cembalo Bassi, they're going to head their way through the Ascari chicane. Will Davide Corps, Orozco and Isaac Price come in this time by? We'll have to see. Davide Corps does head down pit road. So does Orozco. Does Calastrani know he's going to stay out? And does Isaac Price, he's going to head... No, he's not. Isaac Price is going to stay out one extra lap. That is very interesting. This is going to be battle of the pit crews now between Orozco and Davide Corps.
It certainly is, and remember, with Isaac Price staying out, he'll fall into the clutches of Bollett Bassi, which is exactly what is needed. So these two come down in. Look at Mac Backham, though, down to the inside, and will take the net race lead away then. As things stand, takes position number 2 away from Bollett Bassi. So Backham now back to the front, but remember, there is Isaac Price in front of them. That could be a key issue here going on. Job is a mile away here from De Corps and Orozco. They lose out so much time in terms of that one, but that would be the last thing that would have been wanted from all of them. Mark Warmington comes down onto the lane for Blue Flag Racing there, Connery.
Yeah, gets that one stopped very, very quickly. He's one of the last pitters here over the course of this race. The cars that haven't come down pit road are the likes of Ollie Quokka and Evan Lathoris. As actually, they're going to head their way down pit road. At least Evan Lathoris is. Ollie Quokka is going to stay out just one more time at least. As Isaac Price also is one not to head his way down pit road just yet. But he has to do it pretty soon. Look at how much time the other drivers, Davide Corps and Riccardo Orozco, have lost over Sebastian Job. Isaac Price has to come down this time by, otherwise he has no chance against Job.
Yeah, that might be a case here, but they might sacrifice Isaac Price here for Bollett Bassi's sake. It'll be the question of, does Isaac Price come down onto pit road this time by? You can see he rounds Parabolica. Will he turn right down onto the lane? The answer's going to be no, he doesn't. So they're keeping him out here, Connery, in my opinion, to hold him up for Mac Backham here, so that Bollett Bassi has an opportunity to make an overtake again here. That's what you're looking at here with Bollett Bassi, because he needs to hold on to this one, and it's only 4.6 seconds back to Backham. The fact of the matter is, 2 seconds a lap for Backham compared to Price. It's all about Bollett Bassi now, holding on to the back of DRS.
Yep, and well, it's going to be difficult because Mac Backham did set the fastest lap last time by. That was a 1:24.239. As he looks to stretch the gap over Bollett Bassi. But as you say, this strategy card that Core Sim Racing might be playing at this stage, just delaying Isaac Price's stop to maybe get him in the way of Mac Backham and maybe give Bollett Bassi a chance to regain the race lead. That could be a very interesting one once we get to that stage in just a couple of laps' time. Ollie Quokka finally deciding to head his way down pit road. Isaac Price, the lone car on all tyres, out there on track right now.
Yeah, and maybe he's playing a Tamala role as well here, as we saw what happened with Joan Tamala. 3-car battle, though. Reynaldo Augusto, Juan Miguel Rodriguez, and Ruslan Sabatov. Then all together, Augusto made the move down into the Rettifilio and took the position away. So for Rodriguez, wasn't able to break away, but you can see here some drivers have managed to break themselves through here. The likes of Josh Rogers and Moritz Lohner now in 10th and 11th position overall as things stand in this event here. So for drivers like Sabatov trying to make something happen here, you know, he's close, but at the moment, he's not close enough. They've all made their stops, so it might be a case of they're here to the end and now have to make the moves here instead of having to wait for something to happen here, Connery.
Yeah, that definitely seems to be the case as, well, both cars, Juan Rodriguez and Sabatov, are going to have DRS coming down into the Ascari chicane, so no benefits. Well, no net benefit to either of them that time by. As I'm just looking at the, actually, Joshua K. Rogers. Problems for Joshua K. Rogers yet again during the course of this race, and this is coming out of the Ascari chicane. Caught a little bit too much of the curve. He had trouble on entry as well, and he just rode the curve all the way into the gravel.
Second time he's done that today, so for Josh Rogers, it is the nightmare Monza from hell, shall we say, in terms of this one. Watch out for Matt Backham, though. His last 2 lap times, 1:24.2, 1:24.2. He's broken DRS compared to Chembol at Bassi, and that is very, very crucial in terms of the race, because he now has a buffer to go attack Isaac Price then for the overall race lead, not the net race lead. So Isaac Price now needs to hold up Backham by upwards of a second here in the racing going on, and that's not out of the realms of possibility here, Connery, because if Backham catches him in the wrong place, i.e. Curva Grande, he'll be stuck there till at least Ascari.
Yeah, important thing to note, there is still yet more lap traffic ahead of Isaac Price as well, a couple of seconds down the road, so that may cause an issue for Matt Backham, as he's not going to get DRS off of Isaac Price this time by. And, well, if you're Matt Backham, you're hoping that you don't get caught behind Isaac Price in the middle of the lap around the second chicane and the sort of Lesmo 1, Lesmo 2, because you can usually lose a whole bunch of time coming through there, and that's not what Matt Backham is going to need. It'll make him fall right back into the clutches of Chembol Bassi, and I think, as you said, this is the strategy card that Corsair Racing are going to play at this stage. Look at how close Isaac Price and Matt Backham are now coming through the second chicane. I don't think he's going to get slowed up enough coming through Lesmo 1 and 2. As we have a look back at P12, in fact, this is between Juan Rodriguez and Ruslan Sabitov. They're going to head their way out of the Parabolica, and I don't think, is Rodriguez going to get DRS? Yes, he is, and that's going to cancel out Ruslan Sabitov's DRS. I don't think it's going to be moved this time by. Having a look back at the P1, though, Isaac Price still ahead of Matt Backham, but I think Matt Backham has slowed the pace down just a tiny bit to make sure he doesn't get caught by Isaac Price in the wrong place.
Exactly here, and well, he needs to get a fantastic run out of the Parabolica, and he knows he's got better rubber to really work that in with. So round Parabolica they go. Is Isaac Price got enough? I expect him to go defensive here and fight hard for this position, even though he's on the older tyres, even though he is upwards of 2 seconds a lap slower. He'll use all of his ERS, and the DRS will be used for Matt Backham as well. You can see the difference closing, 2/10, 1/10 to the inside. Nothing that Price can do. Down on the brakes into turn number 1, the Variante de Retafilio, and that is going to be Matt Backham straight through then on the driver of Isaac Price. Price will try and fight back here, but he doesn't have enough grip out of the corner. Backham is surely gone here in this situation, and the last great hope for Chembol at Bassi now starting to fade away from last week's race winner at Silverstone. So now becomes the case. Backham just holds on to things for the moment and keeps himself through. 2 cars battling ahead of them, though, are Evan Lathoris and Matteo Calistani here. This isn't the case here, Connery, of the World Championship rules, where if there's a blue flag, you dive out of the way at around a second when the car's behind you. It is advised in this series, so it will be a much more difficult task for Backham to get around lap traffic.
Yeah, exactly. This isn't over yet for the race lead. If Matt Backham has a little bit of trouble with these 2 cars fighting for position ahead of him, then that might bring Chembol Bassi right back into this race. We'll have to wait and see. It's going to be another lap or so before Matt Backham catches up to the back of these 2 bits of lap traffic right now. But it can certainly be interesting coming into the later stages of this race if Matt Backham has a little bit of trouble with traffic. And this will be interesting to see if Isaac Price heads his way down pit road this time by. Actually, he's going to stay out. So is he going for the no-stop strategy here, I wonder?
I think he is here in this situation. He knows he's got the gap to do it as well here, because he's running the same times as Calistani, 1 lap down in terms of this one in just a moment. Down to the inside then, late one from Bola Bassi, but that was scripted, you could argue, in that one, because Isaac Price didn't turn in, knew the driver was coming down the inside, and Bola Bassi had to make the move in this one. It is worth noting that it is 2, 3, and 4 at the moment, because Sebastian Job's only 6 seconds back then in terms of that race going on right now. But we still have some great battles going on through the field. Ferenc Kern versus Michael Partington. This one for position number 7 out on circuit at the moment here. So you're looking at Partington now under a bit of pressure from the Apex Racing car here of Ferenc Kern. Kern on the brakes. Not close enough yet here, Connery, but has that ability to close in the next few moments.
Yeah, definitely not close enough, as actually Michael Partington gets a good run coming out of the first chicane. I kind of want to have to look back to the race lead right now, as Matt Backham is going to have to follow these 2 lapped cars coming through the Ascari chicane. And, well, he's going to lose a little bit of front-end downforce as a result of following in the dirty air, but it's not as bad as it could have been, as he's going to make his way past Evan Lathoris, and Matteo Calistani is going to be the next one that's on his hit list right here, and he's going to make that pass done on the DRS, you would have thought. but that traffic not causing as much trouble for Mac Backham as it could have been, as actually starting has to get a decent run out of the parabolic. It could cause an issue for Mac Backham coming down into the first chicane, but look at that overspeed that Mac Backham has. He's going to have to take it too wide with Kalistani coming through the first chicane, though. This is important, and actually side by sides behind them between Kalistani and Lathoris. This is a battle for position, but Mario Kalistani will successfully defend that position. But Evan Lathoris getting a good run coming out of the first chicane. He's going to head it side by side through Curva Grande.
Yeah, he was, and well, Chembol Bassi then has dropped back to now 2.5 seconds behind here. Matt Backham now turning the screw in this one here, needing everything to happen. We're just going to step side by side for a moment, ladies and gentlemen, but the action continues on an enthralling Monza race. It's been an absolutely fantastic opening 33 laps of this event, and there's still 20 left to go in the Grand Prix Series here from the circuit of Monza. And what a fantastic race it is here, streaming live on iRacing Live, brought to you by Racebot TV. It's hashtag Do You Mind Jake Sperry here with Connery Madigan. We're looking at this battle for P11, 12, 13 here right now. Reynaldo Augusto under pressure from Juan Miguel Rodriguez. Ruslan Sabatov just behind, looking to turn the screw here, looking to put the pressure on. Positive Sim Racing sandwich right now as we're seeing things right now. Connery, Rodriguez isn't close enough to make his way through. Maybe he's just harvesting energy just a little bit in his stages. Also worth taking a look at Sebastian Job right now, because he is all over the back of Isaac Price and has the potential to now make a move.
Yeah, also battle for P7 and 8 as well between Michael Parston and Fenric Kearns. Fenric Kearns probably going to squeeze the gap almost around the outside of the first Lesmo. They were almost side by side all the way from the first chicane right there. And, well, Fenric Kearns desperately trying to find any way past the number 13 driver. It's actually Reynaldo Augusto dropping down the field. He's had an issue, heavy damage to that car, and that was all on his own coming on the exit of the second chicane, clipping the curb a bit too much to spat the car out into the Armco barrier.
Yeah, it didn't. We managed to catch that one there, and well, that was an issue that wasn't really wanted here in terms of the racing that was going on there with that incident. Kern still continues, though, and has the inside to Parabolica compared to Partington. You can see, though, again, just struggles on that inside there. Partington runs wide, but now you can look at Ferenc Kern here. Kern has a great ability now to go close. They almost bang tyres there as they head themselves down the front straight. DRS will be in operation. That will be very, very helpful for the driver there of Ferenc Kern, just doing enough. Partington will stay there, though, here, and Partington on the outside now trying to make that move here, trying to make it stick, has the inside for turn 2. You can see just how much Kern had to just track a different line and lost how much time? Well, about 4/10 of a second, Connery.
Yeah, interestingly enough, it was actually Michael Partington that got the DRS that last time by, as Ronaldo Augusto is going to bring that car down pit road. He's going to get at least that front wing damage repaired, but that suspension isn't looking too good either on that left-hand side, so I wouldn't be surprised if he retires the car at this stage in the race. Meanwhile, Sebastian Job making his way by Matteo Calastrani. This is for lap traffic, and Evan Lathoris as well, and that was a scary moment on the brakes coming down into the Parabolica, as Ronaldo Augusto is actually going to make his way back out onto track. He thinks that suspension damage isn't going to do him all too much harm, and he's back out on track with some fresh rubber as well.
Yeah, he is here, and well, you can see just how much Lathoris is actually just sticking behind the driver of Sebastian Job, trying to make something happen. Job was getting a little bit upset over the lap traffic here, as we are still looking here at the position number 7 battle. Partington versus Kern. Kern has the advantage here, but the DRS will go to the driver of Michael Partington if he can really utilize this final corner. Rounds Parabolica, now get on the power as quickly as you possibly dare. We've seen a couple of drivers have a little bit of a twitchy moment coming out of Parabolica, but you look at this one, I think Kern's a little bit too far forward this time to make something happen here. Partington has to just stay behind here and just hope that he can stay within that gap there of 1 second for another lap, Connery.
Yeah, slipstreaming and DRS all the way down the pit straight puts him in a good position yet again, does Michael Partington on Ferenc Kern. As again, he's not going to be close enough to make a move coming down into the second chicane. He has to be looking now next lap coming down into the first chicane, or the run down towards the Ascari chicane. That could be his two big opportunities over the course of the lap to try and find his way past and make his way up into P7. Ferenc Kern is on 1 lap older tires. That has to be taken into account here. And well, 1 lap you might say, oh, it's not going to be too much, but it can be the difference between gaining a position and losing it.
It certainly can around here, and well, Michael Partington is trying to do something. We're looking at Mark Warmington right now here, who is on the lane now, so has had an incident, and that one has come down at the Variante della Roggia then. Gets all on his own as well, so he gets himself all over the curb 1, all over the curb 2, took a bit of air, and had a graceful little escapade, shall we say, hitting the tyre barrier, and his day pretty much ending there after that one. Wasn't having the best result, but he was up 4 at the time in position number 14, but that's a shame for Mark Warmington, who we know can deliver on his day.
Yeah, he can. And as you said, it's an absolute shame for him. It's just a little bit of a mess up on the first apex of the chicane, and then that just led to another incident coming across the second curb, and that is now the end of the race for Mark A. Warmington. Meanwhile, we'll have a look back to this battle between Ferenc Kern and Michael Partington. Still stays static as it is right now. Partington still not able to get there. But meanwhile, Ruslan Sabatov versus Juan Rodriguez coming down into the first chicane. Rodriguez trying the switch pack on the middle to exit of the corner. Not able to make it happen, though, as they both get a decent run over Simon Schulze, which is at the back of these two, coming out of the first chicane. They head their way through Curva Grande. And, well, this is going to be a good 3-car fight for what is going to be a P11.
Yeah, it is. It's a very difficult fight, especially in the middle of the pack. You've got to remember you're 70% around this circuit full throttle. So you have to make sure that you know where you can make that move. Sometimes, you know, with less corners, with more straights, time becomes less between certain drivers. But that also means any mistake you make is a lot more exacerbated. So now for Rodriguez here, with Schulze behind, he can just sit there and wait, because Sabatov will now be under a lot of pressure on the brakes into Ascari. Won't have to worry too much about the dirty air through here, but will still have to worry a little bit. Has to be within about 0.6 of a second, I'd say, Connery, to really get a chance at a run into turn number 1.
Yeah, exactly. Meanwhile, Rodriguez has, again, same in the battle between Kern and Partington. Juan Rodriguez does have 1 lap newer tyres than Ruslan Sabitov at this moment in time. And that will, of course, continue towards the end of this race. As it looks like Ruslan Sabitov was going to dive his way down pit road. But no, that was just a little bit of an oversteer moment coming out of the Parabolica. But it's not going to do him too much harm in the end. Meanwhile, Partington versus Kern. Kern has managed to stretch out the gap.
I disagree with you there, Connery. I think he was trying to throw the dummy and say, I'm going to go for a 2-stop strategy. Maybe trying to throw the driver of Rodriguez down onto the lane. So, bit of mind games being played there in terms of this one. So, Barry the Corpse is actually a driver I want to focus on. They're 3 wide in front. Oh, my word. How have they held themselves up? That's Croker, that's Isaac Price, that's Evan Lathoris, that's Ronaldo Augusto and Calistani. They're all together, all fighting at exactly the same point in time. And Isaac Price is trying to lap the lot of them here in terms of this one. They have 3 wide coming in, and the Corpse will now have to get through all of this. They're side by side behind now, as Croker now under a lot of pressure here. Lathoris now side by side with him, and they touch on the way in. And round will go Lathoris here in front of everyone. The Corpse gets away with it down on the inside, but you can see Lathoris, day done.
Yeah, and that's well avoided from all of the drivers behind as well. I'm surprised not one car made further contact with Evan Lathoris. There's actually a replay on the screen for you right now of that unfortunate incident coming down into the first chicane. Everyone on the anchors behind him, both the PSR cars plus Davy the Corpse, having to slow down by a huge margin to avoid Evan Lathoris in the middle of the racetrack. But again, that's very fortunate that was just a single car incident.
Yeah, very, very fortunate, but it is brief escape for Isaac Price. You saw that all happen behind him, and that all started really from the lap previous there, because they were 3 wide heading into the Parabolica as Price was trying to make those moves. Looking though again here, Rodriguez under pressure again from Schultz here in the battle for P13 out on circuit here on their 39th lap of the race, lap 40 about to start for the driver of Mac Backham right now as we head towards 1 hour in this race so far in this full Grand Prix distance race right now. Schultz just staying calm there, just holding back a little bit there, maybe not able to get right close to the back at the moment here, Connery. But maybe he's just setting up for a move later on in the last 14, 15 laps of this event here, because he knows he doesn't have to do it right away, and he's only got 2 cars that he can realistically make a move on here.
Yeah, he only gained around about, I'd say, around about 0.03 of a second on that last lap, so not all that much for Simon Schultz. He has to remember, though, that Juan Rodriguez does get a DRS off the car ahead, and that's going to negate the effect on the run down towards Ascari and on the run down towards the first chicane, as he does close up yet again, coming down the back straight on the run down towards Parabolica, a little bit late on the brakes as well, just closing up to the gearbox of Juan Rodriguez. And a big twitch from Simon Schultz, going to spit him out wide during the Parabolica. That's definitely not what he's going to want. He may lose DRS here. Actually, he got the activation point before that happened, so he's going to have DRS this time, but I can't guarantee it for the next couple of times, as actually he does close up under the brakes. Very brave there, but does not lock it up and actually stays within the DRS zone.
Sometimes you attack, sometimes you defend. Now Sabatov under a lot of pressure here, because here comes Juan Miguel Rodriguez now, tucked right underneath. I don't think he's close enough to make something happen. No DRS then out to Curva Grande towards the De La Rocha, so would have to have done it on pure pace alone. Didn't manage to make that move. Wasn't able to make things happen. Battle for P number 4 though, incredibly close. Isaac Price versus Davy the Corpse then here between the 2 and the 9 machine. Orion versus Core right now. And you can see here it's close. It's closing, but it's not close enough here for the moment. Davy the Corpse will just have to sit and wait at turn number 1, where he almost had a heart attack moment with the lap traffic having issues in front of him just a little bit earlier on. The only solace for Isaac Price is it's a 5-second, 6-second gap even back to Ricardo Orozco in position number 6. So in terms of the strategy call, this has been good. Here comes the Corpse though, moves to the inside at the De La Rocha and will make that move very, very comfortable, although he is held up and Price will try back again.
Yeah, but I don't think there's much Isaac Price could have really done right there, since his tyres are so old at this moment in time. Look at how much of a gap that David Corpus has already stretched out over him. Meanwhile, having a look back towards the battle between Juan Rodriguez and Simon Schultz. Schultz has managed to make up the gap, and he's going to go side by side, almost coming down into the first chicane. Defensive line from Juan Rodriguez, though, coming down into the first chicane. And, well, that was...
touch!
Oh, no!
Oh, and Schultz turns around. Rodriguez there. Bit of contact there, front to rear. They both take the spin, and they'll have to continue again. On board then from Simon Schultz's perspective then. Down on the brakes into one. Although the driver ran a little bit wide there, it was just taking a little bit too much there out of the corner with Schultz there. Really thought that maybe Rodriguez was going to get a better run than he did, and that miscommunication happens so often in racing, Connery. You can't really prepare for it. There is no brake lights on these vehicles.
Yeah, and that happens so often coming out of that first chicane as well. Sometimes you just don't quite get the traction down coming out of the Rettifilo chicane here at Monza, and if you're a car behind, you don't know that's going to happen, and you're expecting them to get a decent run every time, but when it doesn't happen, it can catch you out, and that is just what has happened there.
Yeah, it has here. Oh, big moment for Sebastian Job, and he goes off into the gravel at the Variante della Roggia there. Just took too much out of the corner. The graceful thing you could say as the replay comes up on screen for him there, Connery. He has a 10-second buffer back to the corp, so he didn't have too much to lose, except maybe the podium.
Yeah, and you have to remember there was 10 seconds already, and he only made that pass just a couple of laps ago. That's the difference between new and old tires here at Monza in a full distance race. I have to say, he's very optimistic for Isaac Price to go the whole race distance on these tires. He still has 11 laps to go on those tires, and well, the next car that's going to be challenging him is going to be Orozco, and he's just heading his way down into the Ascari chicane right now. Meanwhile, Isaac Price is heading his way out of the Ascari chicane, so that is the visual gap, you could say, around about 5 seconds last time by. Meanwhile, we'll have a look back to P12. Rodriguez and Schultz, they're going to be relatively close again. They're going to head their way through the Curva Grande. Let's see if Schultz can make the pass stick this time, shall we say.
No, he's not going to be able to make anything happen just yet then in terms of the racing. Just has to wait behind once again in terms of what is going on. They do have to be worried, though, because Matt Backham is closing up on them behind and might take a lap away from them in this race. And for the driver, Simon Schultz, he wants to make that move quickly and then hope that he is lapped by the driver of Matt Backham, because that would allow here, Connery, them to have one less lap and Schultz be in the driving seat when that happens. Closes up under DRS into Ascari, had a look, but has to back out of it there and loses quite a bit of time, which probably compromises the run here towards Parabolica.
Yeah, it does. You just saw Rodriguez stretch out that gap on the exit of the Ascari chicane, but again, this battle isn't over yet. Again, Schultz does close up on the brakes. He seems to be much braver on the brakes than Rodriguez at this moment in time. That just allows him to gain time on the entry to the corner. He will have DRS, we suspect, coming down this pit straight. He's going to be, he's going to go for a lunge, I think. He might, no, he's not. He's going to lift out. He's actually going to dab on the brakes as well, because I saw the DRS flap close way before the braking zone.
Yeah, and he was just waiting, maybe knew he wasn't close enough, so decided to keep that little bit of a gap there to make sure he's not compromising himself through the corner by holding himself up compared to Juan Rodriguez here. Again, very close here and using the slipstream to his advantage, but again, isn't quite close enough to make something happen here. So Rodriguez will just hold on to position, hold station for the time being. And actually, that was a poor corner there for the driver of Simon Schultz. He will lose a little bit of time in terms of the battle. Also, keep an eye out on this battle going on. Isaac Price versus Ricardo Orozco, because Orozco took out another 1.2 seconds here against the driver of Isaac Price. Price has literally been unlapped by the driver of Reynaldo Augusto here. So Augusto has much more pace on those fresh tyres, as was noted earlier, and now has been released by Isaac Price. Price now will have to worry about Orozco, who will close, by my reckoning, in the next 2 to 3 laps.
Yeah, that definitely seems to be the case. We have to remind our viewers that Isaac Price on a no-stop strategy right now. I think he's pretty much committed to it with only around about 9 laps to go. So he's going right until the end on these tyres. We saw that during the World Championship Grand Prix Series, perhaps, well, with only one driver. And we're going to see it with only one driver yet again, taking the optimistic route and trusting in their tyre saving to try and get them towards the end of this race. But that just means you're a sitting duck in the latter stages of the race. Meanwhile, Simon Schultz versus Rodriguez as they head their way down into the first chicane. A little bit of tyre-to-tyre contact again on the exit, and oh, that's going to be Schultz around. Rodriguez spun him on the exit of the corner.
Oh, and that's a shame to see. Replay up on screen there. You can see Schultz made the move late. A little bit of contact into the first part, a little bit of contact into the second part, and it just seemed to me that there wasn't quite enough steering done by Rodriguez there coming out of the corner. Maybe had part of it done, but the other part didn't quite work for him there. So maybe that slight correction, wasn't confident getting onto the power and turning the vehicle at the same time. I'd have every reason to be tentative in the McLaren MP430, but for that instant, Rodriguez has turned around Simon Schultz, so Schultz will now drop himself back and now has no hope on gaining any more positions. Worth noting, though, Mac Backham is legitimately 2 seconds behind him on circuit right now, so Backham leads this one. Bollard Bassi there in second, now 7 seconds adrift here in the race at the moment. Sebastian Job in position number 3, Davide de Corpus in 4th, and the battle for 5th now getting a little bit more intense. Isaac Price being caught hand over fist here, Connery, by Ricardo Orozco.
Yeah, it's only going to be a matter of a lap or so before Ricardo Orozco is within the DRS zone, and he might be within it at the end of this lap if he is lucky. Meanwhile, we're looking back, at this P5. This is going to be Isaac Price versus Ricardo Orozco as they head their way down into the Ascari chicane. And, well, you just have to think how Isaac Price's tyres are absolutely screaming for relief right now. They're going the full race distance, a full 100% Grand Prix race distance on those tyres. And, well, as I said before, he's going to be a sitting duck if Ricardo Orozco gets within the DRS zone at this moment in time.
Yeah, well, we're looking at the positions gained here inside your top 10. Manu Domingo has had a very quiet race, but has had a race where he's got himself up an amazing 8 places in this one, but is under a little bit of pressure here from Moritz Lohner in the Hoytsen-Velcourt Motorsports machine here. So Moritz Lohner will be looking to try and pull that gap back in and get himself +2 for the day. Worth noting, Sebastian Joe +5. You look at David de Corps +3. You look at the likes of, say, Ferenc Kern +2 on the racing right now. But we look again, though, at Isaac Price under a lot of pressure here. The difference on that last lap, 1 second, there or thereabouts. The gap, 7/10 of a second here. So Roscoe will close here in these stages, and it's the slower corners where it becomes more apparent here for Isaac Price. Unable to get the grip down in the mid path to the corner is the biggest issue with the MP430 when the tyres get worn here, Connery. So now Isaac Price under a lot of pressure and surely cannot stop this last position from going away from him.
I don't think so either, and Roscoe is going to get a DRS on the run down towards Ascari. Not close enough to make a move, though, coming into the braking zone. But again, he's going to catch up through the medium speed chicane. That is the Ascari chicane, and now he's going to have an opportunity coming on the driver's right-hand side of the track. I don't think there's much Isaac Price can do at this situation, as they have a little bit of, well, mind games coming on the brakes down into a parabolic, as actually Roscoe's going to push wide. This is going to allow Isaac Price to make his way down the inside, but look at the tyres. He's just wiggling just a little bit, trying to get the traction down. And, well, if he was on fresher tyres, he'd have that pass done and complete right now, as actually Isaac Price is going to have the DRS as well, so he's going to delay this pass for yet another sequence of corners. And, well, that was a very, very interesting coming down into the parabolic. I don't think Roscoe needed to go as deep on the brakes as he did to make that pass done. I don't know if he realizes that Isaac Price is on 47 lap all tyres at this point.
That was a fantastic little exchange, and it might not be done for next lap as well. Price will have to go defensive into the Della Roggia. He leaves the door open, but can't make the move. Can Orozco. They were playing chicken with the DRS line, ladies and gentlemen, here. They both wanted DRS. Neither of them wanted to be the driver off in first. And while Isaac Price won that game, and you saw there Ricardo Orozco too busy looking at the line for DRS, realised he didn't have it, ran a little bit too deep into the parabolica and lost the position. They'll have to play this game all over again. Ascari seems to be a big issue for Isaac Price. So you look at this one then, back again, in underneath the toe, got the DRS then on the run up to Ascari. And you can see Orozco now very content to sit a little bit further back in this one here. Doesn't want to catch too quickly the driver of Isaac Price, because if he can catch the driver of Isaac Price quickly, he knows that he won't have DRS. He will have DRS this time by as they come across the line. You can see just how much he held himself back from closing down in on the slipstream. And now here, Connery, this move should be just a piece of cake.
Or is it? That was Orozco getting a little bit of a tank slapper coming through the parabolica, but he will have the DRS this time coming across the start-finish line. But it looks like that core sim racing machine is much more trimmed out than Ricardo Orozco's car. Even with DRS, Ricardo Orozco wasn't really gaining all that much time coming down the straight. So a low downforce setup for Isaac Price really helping him right now, and I'm surprised he's still ahead.
Yeah, and they're running out of time as well for Orozco. He's got to make the move now or never, because when he crosses the line, he will have 5 laps to make this move. It sounds like a lot to make one position, but Isaac Price is one of those hard defenders here. He will defend every single corner as if it was his life right now. Simon Schultz is out of the event, so Simon Schultz is gone and done and dusted, and that's a shame for the driver who was in P13 at the time. Again, though, you look at this, Orozco has the toe, and you have to feel there, without that mistake, he was pretty much primed up to make that position. We'll see if he can do it this time. Again, he is right there close, and they might play chicken once again with that DRS line.
Yeah, they're definitely close enough to be doing that. As again, they equalize their runs coming out of the Ascari chicane. Isaac Price actually going to harvest ERS a lot earlier, but look at it, he's just trimmed that car out so much in the setup shop so that it is a monster in a straight line. Meanwhile, Ricardo Orozco going for a slightly higher downforce, benefiting him in the middle sector through the chicanes and through the Lesmos. But this is going to be Ricardo Orozco's opportunity now. Driver's left-hand side, this is going to have to be around the outside coming down into the first chicane. DRS in effect, and that's going to be Ricardo Orozco up into P5.
No, it's not. He's gone straight on. He's gone straight on as Orozco, so he'll have to weave his way then past the polystyrene. He will now have to lose the position and take the slowdown there on the exit. So Orozco, a big mistake there, just outbroke himself into turn number 1 there, Connery. It's the second time he's done it in about 3 laps that he's outbroken himself. Maybe he's having a slight discomfort with the brakes there. He did move a little bit to the right on the brakes there, and that might have just thrown off his braking marker.
Yeah, and again, I'm not entirely sure why he's doing that. Isaac Price, he's on such old tires right now that he couldn't really have had an opportunity coming back down the inside of the first chicane. So a little bit too conservative there from Ricardo Orozco, well, in terms of defensive moves. And now he's made a mistake, and now he's looking, well, he's catching relatively quickly back to the back of Isaac Price, but he's running out of laps, running out of time to be able to make this pass happen. Meanwhile, we're going to have a look back towards Manu Domingo, Morris Lona. They're going to have a fight coming towards the end of this race, Jake.
They are here. Moritz Lohner then has done well to close the gap down on Manu Domingo, then into the second Lesmo to come along. DRS will be in activation for Lohner in the Hoytingveld Core Motorsports machine, of course, brand new to the Formula 1 scene about a month ago, shall we say. They decide to make a concerted effort, signing Patrick Holtzman now. Left, right, left. Ascari coming up for them. And you can see it's going to be a case of how much can Moritz Lohner do in this section. And again, he just loses a lot of time there, does the driver of Moritz Lohner. So that time just goes away from him, and that gap becomes about half a second again. Needs to get a good run out of Parabolica. I don't think he's going to be close enough at this stage to make something happen right now. No is probably going to be the answer. We're going to stay with this one down the front straight, Connery, but it's 4 laps to go now as they cross the line.
Yeah, Morris Lohner's car was absolutely squirrely on the throttle coming through Parabolica and struggling to get the traction down, as actually we've lost Joshua K. Rogers, the number 7 machine right there. He's had yet another spin, this time coming out the second Lesmo, and well, it hasn't been a great day at the office for the driver of the number 7 machine, Joshua K. Rogers. Meanwhile, P5, this is going to be Isaac Price versus Ricardo Orozco. They're going to head their way side by side coming through Ascari. Will Isaac Price be able to reply? The answer to that one is no, and I think this one is sealed and done as long as Ricardo Orozco does not make the same mistake he did coming down into turn 1 just a lap ago.
Well, you can see it will be DRS for Isaac Price, who lost the position at Ascari on the brakes. How good is his Parabolica? I doubt it will be very good. He tries and he tries and he tries, and the gap opens up a little bit, but he will have the overspeed here down this straight. We noted he's got a very good overspeed, but look at that gap already. He only made the move at Ascari, and the gap already opened up to 0.6 of a second. So for Isaac Price, game over. He's not going to close down anymore, and he's got a 12-second gap back though to Ferrand Kern, and I doubt we'll see him lose that barring a mistake. So for Ricardo Orozco, he's finally got position number 5. A little bit more work than what he would have wanted here, but not what he wanted in terms of how much time it's taken. It's cost him compared to Davy de Corps. Manu Domingo now still under pressure from Moritz Lohner, and Lohner are just unable here to close that gap down the way that he'd want to here, Connery. You can see that gap, a 1:26.1 meets a 1:26.2, 0.6 of a second, not close enough.
No, not close enough to duels. They're very deep on the brakes. Goes Loner right there. Almost not making the apex of the corner, but it ended up that he did make the apex of the corner. And, well, that has definitely closed the gap right now. Closer than it has been over the past couple of laps. This is the battle for P9 on track at this moment in time. They're, well, very close to, relatively close to going a lap down here. Backham's just making his way through the fish chicane right now. So they have about 2 laps to go at this stage in the race. Maybe 1 lap to go if they're, or even fewer, well, even fewer than 3 laps to go, I should say, as my mental maths just quite fails me there. But battle between Loner and Manu Domingo. Loner's going to have the DRS this time coming down on the run, down towards Scary Chicanes. They head under the bridge. Defensive line for Manu Domingo, a little bit early for that, I think, as Loner wasn't really within a position to challenge coming down into the Scary Chicanes. He pushes it a little bit wide on entry.
Mental mass, I think your English is going a little bit as well, Connery. Moritz Loeffner very, very close on this one then. Trying to close down Domingo here. Will have 2 opportunities to make this happen because Matt Backham will not be close enough to lap them here as when they come to the start-finish line. For Matt Backham, though, it has been a day of reckoning for him, but he will have a lap to go when this happens. Manu Domingo versus Moritz Loeffner. Loeffner not close enough just yet. Needs to just get himself within about 0.2 of a second here, because he's fantastic onto the brakes. You can see he closes right up again here to that driver in front of Manu Domingo, and again just isn't able to put the power down off the exit. Gets squirrely with all the vortexes of the dirty air just right in front of him. So for Moritz Loeffner, that low speed grip there is something that he is ever so slightly struggling with as they head to the Della Roggia. Not going to be close enough then onto the brakes, into the left, into the right. He's hoping for maybe a mistake, maybe a run up towards Ascari. We saw the defensive line taken by Domingo earlier on in this one, so that might come into play in terms of these two having that scrap. You can see right-hander Lesmo won then. Close, not close enough, I don't think here. Loeffner will try everything here within 0.2 of a second. He is, and he will get DRS, and there will be a defensive line. He instantly moves to the outside, though. He wasn't confident enough in making that move, and again, has to back out of it into that Ascari chicane. So you can see Moritz Loeffner not going to be close enough then for the moment. You can see just how much time is whittled away, but to Mac Backham we look, and the number 1 VRS Coanda SimSport machine. It was a very, very solid result in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series 24 hours ago, which he scored a position number 5 in. Job running into problems as well on the final lap, so we'll keep an eye on that too. But for Matt Backham, though, Parabolica remains because he's just got this final right-hander at this historic circuit, because it will be the return of the Mac. Mac Backham will drive to the line and win the Grand Prix Series race at Monza. And for the time being, you know, there's been some fantastic racing as well. Moritz Loeffner running into issues as well on the final lap then of this event. So for Moritz Loeffner, who has managed to just get himself through on Manu Domingo, he finally got that position. For the moment, Connery, it's not done though.
No, it is not. And, well, Loeffner, after actually cutting the fish chicane right there, he had to make a move around the outside, had to take it across the curbs. But he's still within this fight with Manu Domingo, as Manu Domingo's had an issue later on the circuit. As, well, it's going to have to be a last corner dive for Manu Domingo, as he's losing time on the run down towards the Ascari chicane. Meanwhile, the news with Sebastian Job is he had a little bit of an issue coming through the second chicane. That means David de Korb is actually going to take the final step on the podium instead of Sebastian Job. Meanwhile, we're going to have a watch this battle for P number 9 right until the end. Manu Domingo definitely close coming down in the entry to the Parabolica. I don't think he's going to make it work though, so it's going to be Moritz Loeffner taking the P9 position here in this race. Manu Domingo having to settle for P10.
Yeah, he is there, and well, we'll get a replay of what happened to Sebastian Job after results are being cast. One driver then will have to get himself over the line in the end. That is Ruslan Sabatov, who will just claw himself over the line when all is said and done. Let's get classified results then up on your screen for what has been a beautiful race here around in the Italian sunshine. It's the number 1 machine finishing, guess where? Position number 1 overall. Matt Backham takes the victory then by 11 seconds. When all is said and done, Chembol Bassi will come home in position number 2. David de Korb will steal one then on the line ahead of Sebastian Job there, who had a spin on the final lap. Ricardo Orozco finishes in position number 5 ahead of Isaac Price. Price's no-stop strategy wasn't enough for Ferenc Kern to close up, though. He finishes in position number 7 for the Apex Racing team. Michael Partington finishes in 8th, with Moritz Lohner taking Domingo on the final lap. Ruslan Sabatov will be the last car then, finishing on the leading lap in 11th, with cars a lap down: Juan Miguel Rodriguez, Reynaldo Augusto, Matteo Calistani, and Ollie Kvoka. Cars that failed to finish are Josh Rogers, Simon Schultz, Evan Lathoris, Mark Warmington, Anto Munn, and Riley Preston as well. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're just going to step aside for just a couple of moments. When we come back, post-race coverage from the Grand Prix Series. After these few messages, don't go away.
There are 3 different paths if you want to call yourself a world champion of sim racing. NASCAR, open wheels, or endurance racing. But no matter which one you take, you can guarantee that the journey will always be tough, which few will ever complete. The iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, the premier road racing series in sim racing, started with a new car taking center stage. Then, it was Martin Kroenke resisting any challenge thrown at him to break the 5-year stranglehold of Gregor Hutu as being world champion. These drivers and teams are not just competing for pride, they're competing for money. And with over $20,000 in prizes for each of the series up for grabs, drivers really do put it all on the line.
The NASCAR Beginner for Series, powered by iRacing, is the premier NASCAR esports series featuring the cars and tracks from the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series. The 2016 campaign saw a return to the top of the mountain by Ray Alfalla as a 3-time Oval World Champion. The march to that championship was not easy, though, despite the fact that Ray Alfalla took home the most points in series history. It just also happened to be the tightest championship fight we had ever seen. These guys are set for the 2017 campaign.
The Blancpain GT Series hosts the top GT3 endurance teams in sim racing, with groups of 3 or more drivers sharing the wheel. This is a championship you can't win alone, and you need the same determination, passion and drive from your teammates to be successful. They often say that it takes just one mistake to lose a championship, and in team racing, it may not be your mistake that costs you the win. Last season, VRS Coanda SimSport won the championship by a single point. This year, who will step up to the plate?
These are the iRacing Esport World Championships, the pinnacle of sim racing competition. Catch it all season long with live coverage on iracing.com/live.
Bit of the crazy one we have seen at the moment here today, but it has been a fantastic race regardless, where we saw pretty much a little bit of the same, shall we say, of what happened earlier on 24 hours ago in the iRacing World Championship. A VRS Coanda SimSport driver took the victory in the form of Matt Backham, but we want to turn your attention over to an incident that happened on the final lap. All on his own, Sebastian Job, number 5 machine, getting back into the Formula 1 car once again for Course Sim Racing this time. Has himself a bit of a spin on the final lap, Connery. I've managed to catch a little bit of a look of it. We're going to get it up on replay for you. Catches a lot of the curb into the first part of the Della Roggia, but catches a lot more of it coming out of the second corner, turns himself around.
Yeah, this is the onboard replay with Sebastian Job. The first chicane was absolutely fine and dandy, but having a look at the second chicane, though, as you said, Jay, he messes up the first apex of the corner, and that just leads to more problems later on down the road. He's not able to make the apex the second part of the chicane without bringing the back end around, and, well, that back end just keep going around, and he had to spin the tires to try and get pointed in the right direction. Luckily for him, though, he did manage to get that car back on track, because we saw another driver do that earlier on in this race and ended up in that green tire barrier on driver's left-hand side.
Yeah, it's also worth noting as we see the off-board view of that final incident that you could potentially get yourself beached on one of those sleeping policemen, shall we say. If you catch the angle just a little bit wrong, you can see the suspension would have been able to have been raised in such a way that, you know, even with the little bit of wood that you can see at the bottom of that skirting board, it would have been enough to maybe lift the car over, so had to continue on that line of just keeping the power down, turning that car around as things stand. But we do have you for interview your race winner right now in the form of Mac Backer. Mac, in the end, you could argue it was a bit easy for you, but, you know, you had a lot of work cut out for you in the early stages, lost a couple positions off the line, had to claw your way back, and, well, you found out in the early stages that Chem pulled out about a 2-second gap on you.
Yeah, the start was really, really bad. Still can't quite explain why I had so much wheel spin. So yeah, I don't know how many cars were in front of me, but then I got caught out a bit by Cem in turn 1 because he braked a bit earlier than I expected. So I think that also helped me lose a few positions. And yeah, I knew my pace was good, so I didn't worry about it too much. I was pretty confident I could just overtake everyone and then yeah, run away, hopefully. And that seemed to be the case.
Certainly did, but it wasn't all plain sailing even after the pit stop window. Chem decided to come in a little bit earlier than you and maybe force your hand a little bit. I didn't know whether you wanted to go a little bit longer on your stop or whether you planned to come in at that time. But with Chem running a second a lap faster than you on trying to go for the undercut, was it maybe a little bit of a relief to get yourself out ahead after the pit stops?
Well, I wasn't planning on pitting early. I still don't think I really did. I think I pitted a lap later than yesterday. But I knew Jem was going to pit early because once I cleared the DRS, it was pretty much his only option. Otherwise, he would lose the race right there. But I felt like having 2-3 laps fresher tires would pay its benefits in the end. And yeah, that I came out like side by side with him was just an added bonus. I was kind of expecting to be a little bit behind him, but considering I caught him in the first stint, I was pretty sure I would be able to do it again in the second, especially with fresher tires.
Certainly has done, and well, you know, you're looking over towards maybe a long break for Silverstone in terms of the iRacing World Championship. Are you going to be looking to try and keep the ring rust off of you, shall we say, in terms of racing this Grand Prix Series a little bit more frequently?
Well, I have Blancpain next or the week after that in Zolder. So I'll be focusing on the Mercedes for now, sadly. But yeah, after that I'll get straight back in the F1. I don't want to lose any momentum I have going at the moment. So
certainly won't want to indeed. And of course, a race victory means shout-outs. Anyone you'd like to give a thanks to?
Yeah, I want to thank Martin for spotting for me this afternoon, and our partners and sponsors, Virtual Racing School, Heusinkveld Engineering, SimQuip, Antwerp Design, JRT. And yeah, thank you guys for broadcasting, and I want to give a shout out to the Iron Fist of the Secret.
Okay, Matt Backham there doing a fantastic job coming home with a race victory. Connie Maddox standing by with the driver who came home in second. He is the pride of Turkey. He is Cem Bassi.
Yeah, I'm here with Cem Bassi. In fact, a fantastic qualifying effort from you, Cem. Managed to get yourself that pole position and a relatively good early stage of the race. But then that, well, it all came away from you.
Yeah, I was happy with the qualifying, even though it wasn't really a great lap, but luckily I got pole. And then in the race, the first stint was fine, but on the second stint, I just couldn't feel the tires at all, and I wasn't able to push, and I was just driving super calm the entire stint, and Mac was just a lot faster than me, probably like, I don't know, doing laps that were half a second faster than me, so after he got out of DRS, I just had nothing to do, so it was just trying to save tires because tire wear was quite bad, not even close to how I thought it would be.
Yeah, it was quite hot out there on track. 41 degrees Celsius was the track temp, so definitely much hotter than it was in the World Championship Grand Prix Series. We saw that you went for the optimistic, quite deep undercut as well, coming in around about lap 20, which is basically the earliest you can come in and still be within the pit window. But it didn't seem like you gained all that much. Did you have trouble on your outlaps?
Well, after lap 18 or something, the tires were already feeling quite dead, so I pitted on lap 20. But like my out lap, I think I had a 2-lap undercut, but I didn't really feel like I have new tires on, so my lap times weren't actually that great. Maybe about 3/10 faster than my first stint laps. So I think Mag was just keeping the pace, and the undercut didn't really work out as we planned because it just didn't work out for this race for us. I had lack of practice from exams, but well, P2 in this race and P9 WCS, which I was very looking forward to, and getting P9 in WCS was a good thing for me as a damage limitation because I really didn't think I would get top 10. Wasn't really satisfied with my pace at all in the weekend, but I'm definitely happy and pleased.
Yeah, as you should be. And meanwhile, I'm just going to bring you back to when you mentioned the tire wear, the extreme tire wear that you experienced out there. Didn't seem like the VRS commander Carl McBacken had really that much of an issue with the tire wear. So, and we saw one of your teammates, Priscilla Sturgis, actually in the little stream chat that we have going on here, that your package lacked something this weekend. I'm guessing the tire wear is one of those problems that you were experiencing.
Yeah, tire wear was an issue, and like in general, the whole balance, I couldn't really feel the car at all. It may come with the lack of practice, but it was just something wasn't working well. But I have full faith in the team, and we have a lot of time till Silverstone. This might have been a weak race for us, but I mean, we will come back stronger for Silverstone. I have no doubts about that.
Fighting talk from Chembolic Bassi there. Jake, over to you.
Yeah, certainly was, and well, a fantastic result for the driver who came home in position number 2. Maybe felt that there was a little more in the vehicle, but unfortunately here, ladies and gentlemen, that is all we are going to have time for here. Huge thank you to all the sponsors here, the likes of Blue Flag Racing & Co, to all the drivers and to all the teams, and of course for all of you watching at home. There is still a lot on offer here on RaceSpot TV this evening because in just a little over an hour and a quarter, the second of 3 Indy 500s, the Classic IndyCar Series, will have the Indy 500 join Will Vincent, Randy Chenoweth, Cisco Scaramuza and Aaron Likens for that one. In 2 weeks' time, we will have the Blank Pun GT Series. In 1 week's time, the iRacing Indy 500. And in 5 weeks' time, the 6th round of the iRacing Grand Prix World Championship Series. From Connery Maddock even, I've been Jake Sperry, Paul Smith behind the cameras, hashtag Do You Mind, and Do You Mind, that's been some fantastic action. We'll see you again in another race. Good night.